We now have thousands of pages of new documents for the planning of Universal's new theme park and resort in the United Kingdom. Submitted publicly as part of their request for permission to build, these complex files contain important details like construction timelines, height limits, park operating hours, and for the first time, what they're already planning for future expansions. Let's see what we can learn from these documents about the upcoming Universal Studios Great Britain Resort. Filed publicly on July 3rd for review by residents, the Ministry of Housing Communities, and local government, this collection of documents is called Request for Planning Permission, Entertainment Resort Complex, Bedford. The documents are split into 6 categories, each containing multiple files that can be downloaded. There are dozens of PDFs, which collectively contain thousands of pages, as well as zip folders filled with related graphics. While a large portion of the collection is focused on environmental impact of the future resort, which is being developed now for land owned by Universal in Bedfordshire, England, there are also plenty of documents describing what types of offerings they intend to build. This proposed resort still does not have an official name. Instead, documents refer to the overall project as the Entertainment Resort Complex, or ERC for short. The cover letter for the document says this will include a theme park, additional elements like hotels, retail, dining, and entertainment, as well as other visitor accommodations like recreation, venues with convention space, and backstage support like offices, utilities, and parking. An overview of the planning proposal goes even further, describing additional elements such as a possible water park. For an easy-to-understand overview of what they're planning, there's a file named Design and Access Statement. This PDF is over 100 pages long and includes some detailed graphics and descriptions for what we can expect the future resort to look like, including landscaping, signage, and public right-of-ways. But it is the foreword to this particular document that holds some interesting details. The foreword starts by hyping up the future resort, saying that they're ready to top what they've already done, that they've changed the industry with parks like Epic Universe, and they're ready to do it again here, with groundbreaking new attractions and immersive lands. The document reiterates how this destination will be home not only to a theme park, but also hotels, restaurants, and a conference center. It says that this is the future of Universal, but it's only the beginning. Marking the first time the company describes what type of theme park this will be, it goes on to say that guests will be surrounded by a place that will evoke the spirit of the Hollywood dream before they step through the iconic Universal Arch into a new vision of our studio parks. And this studio park will contain blockbuster attractions, adrenaline-pumping coasters, and mind-blowing spectaculars. We'll come face-to-face with incredible creatures, heroes, and villains. And despite being described as a studio park, they do confirm that there will be immersive worlds that you've only dreamed of. The previously released official concept art for this theme park seems to back up this new style of studio park. The entrance areas appear to be themed as classic Hollywood, similar to the traditional Universal Studios theme park. But as you make your way around the park's central lagoon, there seems to be more immersive and self-contained lands. This could be similar to parks like Islands of Adventure or Universal Studios Beijing. Digging deeper into the same document, it goes on to describe some of the different structures that we'll see at the future resort, including multi-purpose soundstage facilities. It says the theme park may utilize these spaces for private parties, special ticketed events such as Halloween Horror Nights or Fan Fest nights or shows. This is not the only document where events like Halloween Horror Nights are brought up, but it is interesting to see them describe how buildings that could be used for such an event may be part of the plans from the start. The land where this future resort will be built is being separated into 4 zones: the core zone to the south, lake zone to the north, and the west and east gateway zones on either side of the property. The core zone is where the theme park itself will be built. It will also contain the guest parking lot, a hotel with up to 500 rooms, and a shopping and retail district like CityWalk. In going through every single page of every single document, very few show the actual outline for the future theme park itself. It was a set of drainage images that seemed to be the best look at the shape for this actual theme park area, highlighted here in yellow. We can also see the general shape of the guest parking lot at the bottom of the property here. Behind the theme park is presumably backstage support areas, and to the left of the park is the on-site hotel with 500 rooms. One of these drainage images even shows what could be the ring road around the theme park. The two round dead ends seen here are used for vehicle turnaround, like for emergency rescue vehicles or team member shuttles that take employees from backstage to closer to their work area. That would put the entry arch for this new theme park right here, between these two circles, just to the right of the hotel. And here is how it looks in official concept art. The core zone also contains the resort's CityWalk style area, which will be part of the theme park's entry area. This table lists everything within the core zone, but only describes the CityWalk area as the entry plaza, which may be this area here, located directly in front of the iconic Universal Arch. The entry plaza is described in documents as not requiring a theme park ticket to enter, and it will contain themed retail, bars, restaurants, and entertainment. North of the theme park area is the lake zone. Prior documents listed this area for multi-purpose future construction, but these new documents have shed some light on what could be built in this large area. According to the same table, future development of the lake zone could contain business hotels with up to 2,000 rooms and additional hotels or other accommodations with up to 3,370 rooms. These new hotels and other accommodations would not open in the first year. But that's not all, as a large section of the lake zone seems to be set aside for a convention center, 55,000 square meters to be exact. Like the hotels, the convention center would not be expected to open in the first year of the resort, but once it's open, it sounds like it'll be able to host events for 3,000 people. The East Gateway Zone on the right side of the property will be the home of the future Wixom's rail station. The West Gateway Zone, which will be the main entrance ramp for arriving vehicles, will apparently have more space for even more development. According to the table, the West Gateway Zone will also host a gas station with 16 pumps, restaurants up to 5,866 square meters, and yet another hotel, this one with 200 more rooms. Like the proposed additions in the lake zone, these additions are not expected for the resort's opening year, but it is interesting to see dining options that are proposed outside of the resort's main CityWalk area in front of the theme park. With the 200 additional rooms possible here in the West Gateway Zone, along with the 5,300 future rooms in the Lake Zone, and the initial 500 in the Core Zone, the entire resort is expected to someday host 6,070 hotel rooms in total. One element described in detail in these documents that has already been discussed by many outlets already are the maximum heights for the new resort. Some of the documents show visual representations of how tall structures may appear from a distance when looking towards the theme park area from varying vantage points. These 3D representations aren't showing specific structures, but instead are illustrating the max possible heights as large cubes. The blue in these graphics represent where the tallest structures can be built. The white top sections seen in some of the graphics represent some elements of attractions that can be built even higher. Buildings occupied by people in the blue zones are limited to no higher than 75 meters above ground level, but what the documents refer to as attraction overlay zone is allowed another 40 meters on top of that. The disclaimer on the right side of the page describes the attraction overlay zone as taller sections of a structure like architectural features, towers, spires, etc., as well as in the case of rides, tracks. This blue striped area on the map is where this attraction overlay zone is in effect, which means that rides like roller coasters within this area, which is essentially the entire theme park itself, are able to be built as tall as 115 meters, or to put that another way, 377 feet. The tallest roller coaster in Europe right now, Red Force at Port Aventura World in Spain, is 367 feet tall. In analyzing the official concept art for the Universal UK theme park, fans agreed that the tallest roller coaster pictured, here on the left, appears to be themed to the Back to the Future franchise. Amusement Insider on YouTube has created a visualization for this possible roller coaster, and in doing so has calculated how tall a ride would need to be to reach the iconic 88 miles per hour from the films. At its tallest, their visualization puts the spike for this possible coaster at about 310 feet above the ground, an amount that is well within the max height limit as explained in these planning documents. The documents go on to show a possible view of the skyline into the Universal UK park, with the darker foreground representing a view of some of the structures in the park as seen from outside the park. The light gray structures in the background are comparing existing attractions at other parks to see a contrast in a possible average view of the skyline. The image is titled Articulated Skyline Concept and Comparative Heights. And while it's referring to itself as a concept, we're not entirely sure if it is accurate to what is actually being built for this park. What could possibly be the Jurassic World Adventure entrance can be seen as a triangle in the skyline, an attraction from Universal Studios Beijing that was possibly included in the previously released official concept art for this park. The roller coaster pictured in this height comparison graphic does not seem to match the possible Back to the Future coaster, as no tall spike can be spotted. Zooming out and taking the entire graphic as a whole though, perhaps if this is an accurate view into the UK Universal Park, it's only displaying a section of the north side of the park, the section of the park with a possible Jurassic World themed roller coaster. When it comes to how the upcoming theme park will affect the surrounding residents, operating hours can be an important consideration. Multiple documents discuss possible operating hours, including special circumstances for special events and holidays. Normal theme park hours are listed as between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m., but keep in mind that this will not be the average operating hours, but instead is a window of time in which the park could be open during. Example scenarios listed elsewhere in the documents describe how the park could open at 9, but parking would open 2 hours earlier at 7, and that guests could dine or shop in the City Walk-style entry plaza before the park's opening time. This table lists seasonal events like Halloween Horror Nights as keeping the park open until 2 a.m. up to 60 nights per year. Annual holidays could keep the park open till 1 a.m. 5 nights a year. And other special events, including private events, would also keep the park open till 1 a.m. up to 30 times a year. Loud music could possibly play up to 11 p.m. each night, except for all special events where it would be cut off by 12:30 a.m. even during Halloween Horror Nights. This is not referring to theme park background or ambiance sound, but may strictly mean very loud music like concerts or DJ parties for events like New Year's Eve. And speaking of special events and holidays, the document lays out plans for fireworks displays. Generally, they claim that the park will not have regular fireworks displays as part of its day-to-day operation. However, they state there could be up to 10 fireworks shows permitted each year. 5 of these possible fireworks displays would take place around Chinese New Year, 5th of November, Diwali, and New Year's Eve. Other pyrotechnics for rides and shows will be executed in short bursts, according to the documents. For example, the finale effects on the Waterworld stunt show seen at Universal Studios parks around the world. Despite not offering daily fireworks, that does not mean that the theme park is not planning to offer some sort of nightly show altogether. The document does say that drone shows will be a regular part of the day-to-day operation of the theme park. There are plenty of documents dedicated to measuring future traffic patterns and discussing upcoming changes in transportation to get visitors to the new resort. But one interesting new tidbit of info is how many parking spaces there will be. At grand opening, the main theme park areas will have a minimum of 7,106 parking spots and 100 bays for buses. Of those parking spaces, 6,668 spots will be for the theme park, City Walk area, and backstage for team members. The remaining 438 spaces are for the 500-room on-site hotel. Of the theme park and City Walk parking spaces, 100 to 150 would be allocated for valet parking. Outside of the main theme park area, calculations have been made for how many parking spots will be needed for the possible additional 5,570 hotel rooms across the site. Additional parking for possible dining options in the West Gateway Zone have been calculated as well, in addition to the gas station for that area. And the future convention center in the Lake Zone has been accounted for too. Altogether, this additional parking adds another 4,529 minimum spots needed for the resort. And when added to the initial 6,668 needed for the main theme park area, that gives us a minimum of 11,197 parking spaces needed for the entire resort. It's worth noting that the full build-out of the resort is predicted by the documentation as happening by 2051 at the latest, 20 years after the initial grand opening year. And while it may be too early to know this information for certain, example scenarios in the documents describe the theme park parking lot as charging £35 per vehicle. This may not be the final price, but it is listed twice as the cost for parking during the first year of operation. Universal claims their new resort will attract 8.5 million visitors in its opening year, with a total of 12.5 million visitors the following year. These estimates include theme park visitors as well as guests who may visit the City Walk-style dining, retail, and entertainment of the entry plaza without actually entering the park. The documents explain that these annual estimates are based partly on the Themed Entertainment Association's reporting of their other theme park resort offerings around the world. They are expecting a split of 70-30 for domestic and international visitors the first year, with more of the visitors coming in locally, but a near 50-50 split the following year. According to this table, they say up to 48% of visitors to the park will eventually be international visitors coming from outside the UK. Their forecasted daily attendance levels for the first year are broken down into 4 categories: low attendance at 10,000 visitors a day, average at 23,000, busy at 40,000, and peak at 55,000. The numbers break down even further when looking at projections for Saturdays versus a weekday. With the theme park open all 365 days a year, they're expecting low attendance around 80 days out of the year, average attendance for 230 days, and then 40 busy days, and only 15 peak days. Peak days would include things like holidays. The new resort will employ 8,050 team members the first year, increasing to 10,000 the following year. An updated version of the example construction timeline was released as part of this document package. The estimated times for each of the phases of construction will be accurate, but when exactly each phase begins will be dependent on gaining approvals and other factors. Going into detail for each of the phases of construction, we can learn what to expect over the next 5 or so years. Phase 1A, Advanced Works, will only take 9 to 12 months and is already underway now. It describes work like installing a security fence around the property, something that was completed earlier this year. It also describes prep work for existing roads. Phase 1B, Enabling Works and Grading, is what we can expect to start next. It involves reworking the land to accommodate proper water drainage, adjusting the heights of the land by adding or removing earth, and creating berms with some landscaping. Phase 1C, primary infrastructure works, includes final land grading for the theme park area, the installation of all underground utilities, and construction of new roads inside of the property. This is the final land prep stage before moving into actual theme park construction. Phase 1D will connect all of the recently installed underground utilities. 1E will build the final guest roadways, and 1F is work associated with the construction of the Wixom's rail station. Now, while some of these earlier phases are ongoing, the planning of the theme park itself is happening in the background. Designing, getting approvals, and ordering materials and fabricating attraction elements are all overlapping while the land is being prepared. And then finally, taking less than 3 years, is the last main phase, simply called theme park construction. It will include building the theme park, backstage areas, hotel, and transportation hubs. The document says this phase will involve cutting-edge technology to create fully immersive experiences where the attractions, placemaking, food, merchandise, and costumes all work together. At the height of construction, which is expected to be the 4th year of work in 2029, there will be 5,380 workers on site at once building the park. Team member services and a backstage parking lot will be completed ahead of the theme park itself to allow for early staff onboarding and training. A period of commissioning and testing will overlap with the completion of theme park construction, allowing for attractions and other elements to be tested and perfected by the time the park opens. Beyond the initial resort and theme park opening by 2031, Phase 2 will continue for the next 20 years. This Phase 2 work will include non-theme park construction, like the new hotels and convention center for the Lake Zone, as well as new roadworks to connect these new areas to the existing resort. The public documents we've been looking through were shared so that the local government and residents can get caught up on Universal's full proposal by the end of next month, August 2025, as the company seeks final permissions to begin major work. Universal has already secured permissions to begin work on the perimeter around the future theme park area, but still requires permissions to build the theme park itself. Environmental concerns make up a large portion of the documents released this month, including concerns for local wildlife, the removal and planting of new trees, and the preservation of natural habitats. Recommendations have been made based on the archaeological studies that were done last year, including the preservation and mitigation of damage to artifacts dating back to medieval, early Roman, and the Iron Ages. Universal has shared the results of last year's survey of local residents' opinions of this proposed project. They say they received 6,111 responses, most of which were overwhelmingly positive. When asked what is the most important consideration when considering a theme park project for Bedford, residents selected preset answers like creating jobs and bringing economic benefits the most. The most popular write-in answer was to be able to visit a Universal theme park without having to travel abroad. When asked for ideas to celebrate the area's history, the top answer was to somehow incorporate old bricks from the old Brickworks site in the new theme park. Surprisingly, all the write-in answers from the survey were actually included in the release of these public documents. So we can read through 1,400 pages of personal responses with things like, "I want a theme park," or "Just do it." Long impassioned replies can be found, as well as local residents with reasonable concerns. But overall, the response was mostly positive. And finally, these documents discuss the way that the media has covered the proposed theme park and resort positively so far, showing quotes from various outlets, as well as mentioning who has been talking about developments since the beginning. We still don't know for sure what properties the lands and attractions at the new theme park will be based on. The company has released one piece of official concept art, and using it, fans have speculated on what they believe many of the areas could be based on. Even the local resident survey results paint a picture for what types of things people expect to see at this new theme park, with terms like Jurassic Park or Jurassic World appearing dozens of times in people's answers. Harry Potter appears over 200 times. Back to the Future, Jaws, and Minions show up in the surveys as well, along with other properties that may be fitting for the region, like Lord of the Rings, James Bond, and Paddington Bear. Over a year later since those survey responses were recorded last April, and many of those properties now show up on fan speculation maps. But we still have to wait for confirmation before we know for sure which ones we got right. That's all for now, but be sure you're subscribed right here to Theme Park Stop to follow along with us on this new journey of development and construction of a whole new theme park. To go even deeper, consider joining our Patreon for behind-the-scenes posts, deeper dives into permits, and exclusive podcasts. Patreon.com/themeparkstop. Thanks for watching. See you next time.